suspect's going to be a skinny black male wearing dark shorts, possibly using like a small Derringer-type pistol.
Very, very tragic, very tragic.
I'm Pat McGinnis. I'll be 50 Christmas Day. And I defend people charged with killing people. James Stevens and his wife were at a local Ramada Inn. They went to a continental breakfast. As they left, they were walking down a breezeway in that hotel, and somebody shot and killed Mr. Stevens' wife. At that same time, Brenton Butler was at his home, saying good morning, taking care of his dog. But those two events collided about 2.5 hours later. He was arrested by the police and taken to be viewed by Mr. Stevens. And Mr. Stevens identified him as the man who shot his wife. This entire case, everything important to it took place in 2 hours, between 7 and 9 on a Sunday morning. And what the jury ultimately comes to believe about those 2 hours is going to determine whether Brent goes to prison for life or is returned to his family.
Could you state your name, please?
James Marion Stevens.
Now, the Stevens were in 142. That's on this side, right here. Okay, so 142. Now, this is where they turned. It's about 7:30 in the morning. They've got muffins, coffee, paper. They're talking to each other as they walk.
After you finished breakfast, did you see anyone on the way back to your room?
Yes, ma'am. I saw a black gentleman walking down the sidewalk ahead of me, maybe 100 to 150 feet. He had on short pants that went right below the knees, and a dark shirt was best. Plus, he was wearing a hat with a narrow brim. We were proceeding down, talking. All of a sudden, there was somebody in my wife's face and my face and said, "Give me your pocketbook." She first said, "Oh," like that, and she started to drop the pocketbook off her shoulder and her arm to give it to him.
So they looked up, the man turned and wheeled. I believe he thought the man right-handed, which makes sense because the bullet entered here. So, turn with your right hand. Okay, all right. Turns. The gun is less than 18 inches from her face. He says, "Give me the purse," or "Give me the wallet." And there's some conflict about that. She starts to take the purse off. Before she can do it, he fires. She's falling back.
How close was he to you?
2.5, 3 feet.
What part of his body were you looking at?
Well, looking at his face.
But you indicated you also saw his gun?
Yes, after he told her to give him her pocketbook, he raised the pistol and shot her right in here.
And you're indicating over your nose area?
Well, it's in the bridge right there.
Okay. You're indicating on the right side, the bridge of the nose, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now... No, not the right side. I'm showing you the wrong side. It's on this side. Okay. But you're indicating the bridge area?
The bridge area, yes.
Okay. Now, the person that did this on May 7th that confronted you and your wife and shot your wife, do you see this person in the courtroom today?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you identify where he's sitting and what he's wearing?
He's sitting right below Miss Nell there. He has a red shirt on. Can't see his pants down below the table. And he has on glasses.
Your Honor, if the record could reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
It should so reflect he's identified the defendant.
Is there any doubt in your mind that this is the person that you saw in front of you on May 7th pull a gun and shoot your wife?
There's no doubt in my mind.
She fell almost exactly here. Now, this is what, 47 feet to here? Apparently, by the time they made it from there to here, Mr. Stevens believes the man had made it back 100 feet or so. Start walking towards me from that point. It's 150. Okay, stop. So he's got to make it from there to here in the time they make it to here. If that's the guy.
All of a sudden, the man was right in front of you?
Correct.
2.5 feet away?
2.5 to 3 feet.
No warning?
No warning.
And by that, I mean you didn't hear the sound of feet running down that concrete sidewalk?
No, I did not.
You didn't hear the sound of feet running on the grass next to the concrete
No,
sidewalk?
I did not.
You didn't perceive any quick movement in front of your eyes?
Not till he was there.
And you saw the gun?
Yes, it did. It was raised.
Derringer-type gun?
Correct.
Over, under, barrel?
Yes. Stacked barrel or stacked, whatever they call them.
Mr. Stevens, from the time the man appeared suddenly in front of you and your wife to the time he grabbed the pocketbook and ran, 4 to 5 seconds?
Yes, in the neighborhood of 4 to 5. That's what's in the deposition.
4 to 5 seconds.
Yes.
1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004, 1,005.
Approximately that, yes.
That's all the time.
That's correct.
Now, the shirt that the man had on, you did not see a logo on the shirt, did you, sir?
No, ma'am.
We're going to look at the physical evidence, which will consist of what they took off our client, his clothes, his shoes, his underwear. Not that that's any major concern.
The items collected at the crime scene, glasses, fragments, a comb.
Now this is submission number 1, submission number 2. Mr. Alford.
Mr. Stevens, let me show you a photograph that's been marked Defendant's Exhibit D.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't recognize that, do you, sir?
I'll tell you where it was at, but I did not look at it. But
Nope.
I told you that shirt was a dark shirt that he had on. And that's the way I identified it.
Mr.
to be honest.
Stevens.
That was on the front of his shirt.
You're saying that this was, what was on the front of his shirt, Mr. Stevens?
A logo, but I told you there was a logo.
Mr. Stevens, are you saying today that there was a logo on the front of the shirt worn by the assailant?
I told you it was on his back.
My question today is, are you saying today that there was a logo on the shirt worn by the assailant?
No, not the original assailant. The original assailant, there was not a logo on the front of his shirt. I believe that later I told you when we were taking the deposition that I saw a logo on this individual, and it was on his back because I remember when he was turning.
All right, sir.
It's not any variation of it, but he had time after an hour and a half, 2 hours to change clothes.
So there was no logo on the shirt you saw worn by the assailant. Is that correct?
At first.
No, sir, not at first.
I didn't want to be terribly hard on the man because, frankly, I think the jury feels like he's been through enough. But at the same time, there were certain points that I had to establish. I wanted to do that in a nice way, and it would have been nicer if he hadn't thrown that shirt logo on me. It just kind of surprised me when all of a sudden he started talking about having seen a shirt logo. But I think we got out what we needed to get out from Mr. Stevens.
Isn't it true, sir, that you do not recall giving a description of the assailant to a uniformed patrol officer who arrived shortly after the incident?
I did not testify to that in the deposition, no.
And isn't it true, sir, that you do not recall telling that first officer who talked to you that the assailant was a black man with skinny build, wearing dark shorts, an unknown color shirt, and a hat, and carrying a Derringer-style pistol?
I can't remember what I told him because I don't remember talking to him.